Meet Floyd and Becky Marsh. They're not your perfect fit-in-a-box cookie-cutter couple. See, Floyd and Becky aren't even fond of each other. They were high school sweethearts, and they got knocked up senior prom. And as most of you know, boy plus girl equals baby. It's been 6 years since they've had a break from their little creation, so in hopes of rekindling their relationship, they sent May to Floyd's parents for the weekend, in Louisville, smack dab in the middle of the enormous city. And then it happened. The virus. The first few days, the news reassured the public that everything was fine, and it was being contained. As the days passed, Floyd and Becky's worries began to weigh them down. They knew they had to step into action. Otherwise, May might end up a painful memory of the past. Join me on Floyd and Becky's harrowing journey from their subtle suburban home in Bedford Falls to Louisville, in hopes of saving their precious May. This trying adventure might just be the thing that they've been looking for to bring them closer together. Having this dreadful news dropped on them so suddenly, Floyd and Becky take a moment to collect themselves before heading out. As they start out on the journey of their lives, they discuss their non-existent plan, hoping and praying it comes together as they frantically work on their first mission, a car. That pipe dream quickly comes to a halt as they run into their first horde of the infected. Floyd, a little more comfortable with violence, starts rocking some rotten skulls in. With Becky panicking behind his back, they decide this isn't a fight they want to start yet. After looting for more essential supplies and better weapons, Floyd and Becky continue their drastic search for a vehicle, knowing that it would be too late for May by the time they reached her on foot. Walking up to a graveyard of cars, filled with what once was a family's main means of support, now laid to waste in the eerily quiet streets. Up ahead, Becky spots a potential lifeline. The car just sitting there waiting for someone to take it out on the open road once more. With their hopes crushed again, Floyd and Becky turn their focus to the nearby boarded-up house. With hopes of finding a key inside, they investigate the perimeter for a way in. As they start walking away with heads down, they hear the now well-known sound of an infected inching closer. After making quick work of them, they notice they ripped the boards from a window to the house they'd given up on. With wasting no time, they swiftly cleared the glass away and jumped in. Once they take care of the final Zed forcefully pounding away at the front door, the couple takes a moment to digest their possible hideout for the night. Floyd and Becky can taste the string of bad luck slowly dwindling, taking their search of the once beautiful home one step at a time, so as to not miss any crucial supplies. Floyd finds himself the perfect tool for slaying the Zeds, a brush cutter. The couple quickly swipes up a few more much-needed items before heading up to the second floor, the place where the family that once resided here laid their heads down for a peaceful night's sleep. Reaching the top of the stairs, Floyd and Becky hear that awful, forceful pounding once more. Hopeful there's just one Zed behind the door, Floyd is more than happy to test out his new toy, and it does not disappoint. The couple's luck streak continues as Floyd finds a 9mm pistol stowed away in the bedside drawer with all the goodies to go along with it. Once they clear the rest of the home and build up on the last few supplies they need for the next day, Floyd lights a smoke and takes a closer look at the Zed he swiftly ended. They make the decision that this home will have to suffice for the night. Going to the bathroom downstairs, Floyd washes away all the blood and sweat from today's battle. He says to himself, "The days seem to last ages. I guess when you're fighting Zeds all day and out of the comfort of your normal life, that'll happen. I pray Becky and I make better progress tomorrow and get closer to May." The couple settles into the queen-size bed in the master bedroom in hopes of getting a decent night's sleep, to prepare them for what lies ahead tomorrow, whatever it may be. Floyd and Becky awake in the early afternoon, the couple mildly thankful for a much-needed rest after their what seemed like never-ending first day in this new, unforgiving world. They're also disappointed in themselves, as any time not spent searching for May is precious seconds wasted. As they scurry around the night's temporary shelter, exiting the way they came in, they're greeted with yet another slowdown. The early spring weather rolled in a thin fog overnight. Hopeful it clears soon, the couple slowly moves up the street to continue their desperate search for a working car. Up the street, they spot a once hot spot in Bedford Falls, Leo's Cafe. Knowing there'll be some food inside, they cautiously move towards the front door. Floyd, still trying his best to master his new weapon, gets overpowered by Zed. Counting his blessings as he takes a look and sees it's just a scratch. Becky, having used to be a waitress at Leo's, knows the bulk supplies are kept in the back. But the couple is greeted by 4 soulless faces, just waiting to take a chunk out of one of their limbs. Backing away for a moment to collect themselves and devise a plan, they decide to open the door, back away, and let the Zeds limp to them, one at a time. Once all the infected are accounted for, they rummage around the back room for extra supplies needed for the long and tiresome trip. As they leave Leo's, they spot a few promising prospects for a running vehicle. Clearing a few Zeds as they move up the street, one false hope at a time. With no luck in the transportation plan, the couple realize time is slowly turning against them. With night rolling in soon, the only plan they have in mind now is to find yet another temporary shelter for the night. Out of the corner of Floyd's eye, he catches a glimpse of a promising apartment building. Hopeful it's not full of Zeds, they make their way through the busted window into someone's once beloved home. Once they take care of a few Zeds on the bottom floor, the couple slowly make their way to the suites on the top floor, thinking they'll be safest here, the furthest away from the streets crawling with the infected. Hopeful none of them make their way upstairs as they try to get some shut-eye, because if they did, Floyd and Becky would be trapped, with no way out but through them. As they wash the stench of death and blood off them, they discuss possible plans of tomorrow. Unsure of how they'll acquire a vehicle, they both know that this is their main priority. Neither of them able to sleep, they sit at the kitchen table having flashbacks of their lives before all this happened, sharing with each other just how much they both dearly miss their May, and all the moments they took advantage of in the comfortable life they were once leading. The couple can both feel that little spark reigniting. Something about coming together with one main goal and focus is rekindling that long-lost love they have for each other. Floyd and Becky awake on day 3, feeling a closeness that's been absent for years now. Wasting no time getting out and continuing their desperate search for a car, they move carefully up the street, hoping Lady Luck tips the scales in their favor today. Suddenly, the couple spots a pristine blue car sitting out front of a home. Looking as though it was an elderly couple's Sunday driver, they anxiously inspect the car's condition. Becky luckily finds the key laying beside the humming streetlight, of course after Floyd has already busted out the driver's side window. Finally feeling a tiny amount of relief rush through them, Floyd skillfully navigates through burnout cars and Zeds to hopefully find a gas station nearby. Becky questions Floyd's decision as she feels it's wasted time that they could be using to get closer to Louisville, to their May. Floyd, the more planning type, knows they should have plenty of gas to get them there, but wants to ensure their drive with a little extra and a gas can in the trunk. Before making their final stretch to Louisville, the couple makes the decision to make a quick stop to a nearby nursing home, knowing they could find much needed first aid items inside. That pipe dream, though, is short-lived. As they drive the perimeter, they take notice of just how many infected have overrun the building. The inhabitants, once full of joy as they live out their last days with friends, now is just full of death and hopelessness. Floyd and Becky listen to their guts and think better of pushing inside. And instead, knowing time is precious, continue their journey to Louisville. As they continue rolling through the streets, things start getting very crowded. With torched vehicles blocking the entire roadway, Floyd attempts to squeeze between a destroyed ambulance and a house. Things don't go as planned. As he does his best to unwedge their lifeline, the infected start inching closer, and the couple has no choice but to abandon ship. As they start making the trek on foot once again, the couple hear gunshots in the distance. And right after, an alarm starts blaring just up the desolate road. Knowing Zeds are going to start flooding the streets, the couple moves onward in hopes of finding another car, even with a ton of infected on their trail. Finding another newer car in a small parking lot off to their left, they know they have to stop and try. A car is still the main and final piece they need to reach Louisville before it's too late. Striking out once more, Floyd and Becky are faced with the darkness rolling in yet again. Knowing they need to find a new temporary shelter for the night, they continue up the street, collecting more food as they go. As Becky was running dangerously low and could feel herself growing weaker by the minute. Satisfied with their food supplies, they help themselves inside the nearby coffee shop. Once a hangout spot for book lovers has now turned into an empty space where fantasy turned into reality. Nothing but dust and silence. Only having one Zed in their path, they take it out and make their way inside the apartment, nestled just upstairs above the coffee shop. Once they cleanse themselves of the never-ending smell of death, Floyd stares blankly out the windows into the void of the night, saying a quick prayer before finishing up their third day in this new hell. Lord, please grant Becky and I a better day tomorrow. With all of this evil surrounding us every day now, we need a beacon of hope. We need luck on our side for once. We need to find May. I beg of you, have mercy. After having to leave the comfort of their hometown in Bedford Falls, Floyd and Becky have finally made their way to West Point. Having to leave in a rush as their shelter began to get overrun by the infected, the couple had to grab what little supplies they could. Desperately in need of more supplies and better weapons now, the couple makes some quick work of the Zeds staking out the homes they hope contain the supplies they're in need of. As an alarm starts blaring off in the distance, Floyd and Becky quickly grab what they can out of the two neighboring homes. The couple couldn't help but feel a wave of emotion rush over them, as they knew they were that much closer to May. They just couldn't shake the feeling of it being too late for her. But stronger together and gaining resilience with each passing day, the couple presses on, grateful for better weapons and more essential supplies. Making their way through town, taking mental notes of the buildings and the infected count around each one, Floyd and Becky stumble upon the Gigamart. Having decent weapons, the couple makes their way inside to pick up more food items, knowing they wouldn't make it very far if they don't ingest the calories needed to keep up in this mad world. With time still of the essence, they grab what they need and jump back on the road. As the night sky slowly rolls in, the couple feels the urgent need to find a shelter for the night once again. A bit jumpy from today's events, both Floyd and Becky make the choice to sleep in the hard and lumpy chairs, so they can keep one eye open through the night. With their bodies aching, Floyd and Becky start the day off a bit late once again. It already being 10 a.m., they waste no time getting out the door. The night before, they spotted a white van just sitting there in the driveway a few homes down. Needing more room for supplies for their trip to save May, the couple debates whether the risk is worth the reward. As they clear out the couple of Zeds they can see, Becky stops Floyd as he is about to enter the van. Becky being visibly terrified, Floyd turns to look behind them and is greeted with their worst nightmare. Feeling defeated, the couple rushes back to their taxi to escape the rising danger before things get worse. Moving further into West Point, they make a pit stop at the small-town pharmacy, having to grab some more medical essentials for themselves, and knowing Floyd's father, he will have minimal supplies on hand. As Floyd remembers when he was a child, his father's solution for cuts and scratches was to just rub some dirt on it and you'll be fine, boy. He never was a very loving type, still isn't to this day. Happy with their haul of supplies, the couple moves their attention to the big red box van in the parking lot. Seeing a bit of age on the old work vehicle and the engine not in the best of shape, they debate whether they should trust it for the last of their drive. With the reward outweighing the risks, the couple takes the van and takes to the road once more. Finally, on the final stretch to Louisville, nervous of what they're going to run into once finally there. Running into a roadblock as they reach the bridge, it serves as their one viable option to reach Louisville in a timely manner. The couple exits their van to weigh the options they have of getting through the congested bridge. Floyd desperately tries pushing the wreckage away with the Suburban trapped in the middle. With no luck, they retreat back the way they came from. Even though the blockage being out of their control, the couple can't help but beat themselves up over the uninvited delay. But then, out of the blue, Becky remembers the train track that runs parallel to the bridge. It being their last hope, the couple turns back, praying it's free to pass through. And it is. Continuing their trip with a newfound second wind, they make the decision to stop for the night before making the final part of their journey. Once Floyd eliminates the immediate danger of Zeds, they start to settle in for yet another restless night. As Floyd takes care of his nightly routine, he thinks of their day tomorrow, wondering if they'll run into any more roadblocks. How many Zeds will be in Louisville? Will their crippled box van make the journey? Is their trip even worth it? Will May even be there once they finally reach the death trap of Louisville? After spending a few days in close proximity to their shelter, stocking up on better clothing, more weapons, and an improved vehicle, Floyd and Becky finally set out on the last long stretch of road to Louisville. They had drove almost an hour with minimal delays, until they run into a roadblock. From the looks of it, it seems to be the checkpoint the military put in place while attempting to slow the spread of the infection. Knowing they would need to tear down a barricade or two before continuing, the couple clears out the immediate area first. Successfully making it through the barricades, Floyd and Becky stop to check out the military tents before continuing, wanting to be prepared the best they can before reaching the deadly city. Further up the road, the couple spots a white van in excellent condition. Knowing it'll be easier to snag a new vehicle now rather than in the city, the couple gets to work clearing the area so they're able to transfer all their supplies. With the night sky rolling in and the couple growing tired, they continue up the road in the direction of Becky's aunt's house. Even though their hopes are low that she's still alive, Becky knows it would be a great base camp near the city while their search for May continues. Floyd and Becky feel some relief as they get to the home with only a few infected in the yard to clear out before entering. After taking care of the dead, the couple take a few moments to look over the home before settling down for the night. As they wash away the filth from today's trek, Floyd says a quick prayer to himself. Lord, we finally made it to Louisville. Becky and I are sick to our stomachs worrying about May. Please let us find her, Lord. Help us find success on our fight through the city. I pray my Father has kept May safe. It's hell on earth out here. Please guide us through it, Lord. Floyd and Becky finally reach their more permanent shelter on the outskirts of Louisville. The couple knows time is of the essence, but also know they will be useless and could be a danger to themselves as well as to May if they carry out their rescue mission half asleep. They make the difficult decision to stay indoors for today and catch up on honing in their skills and transferring over supplies from their overweight van, knowing the rain outside would also slow them down significantly. With the rain comes the rotting of the dead outside. Still unsure of how this virus is transmitted, Floyd heads to the front gate to get rid of a few unwanted guests that showed up overnight, and carefully removes each corpse from their yard and takes them to the street one by one. After Floyd handles the daunting task of corpse removal, he makes his way out to the dock to have a few smokes. and deal with the thoughts running wild in his mind. Have we made the exhausting trip for nothing? What if the city is too overrun for just Becky and I to even make a dent in the dead? The thought of May possibly being alone and scared is driving me insane. We have to do this, though. There isn't a thing in this world I wouldn't do for May, even if that means death. Once Floyd clears his head the best he can considering the circumstances, he heads back inside to do a bit more reading in hopes of it making his eyes a bit heavier. After he finishes up his carpentry book, Floyd has one last smoke to help calm his nerves, and rubs some ice-cold water on his face before laying down in bed to get a good night's rest, hoping him and Becky recover enough to be able to make their first trip into the infested city tomorrow. It's now been 2 weeks surviving in this hellhole. May is the only light that keeps Becky and I going. We finally reached the day of reckoning. I think we're ready to face our fate, whether that's saving May or turning into one of those atrocious dead. All we can do now is try our damnedest and pray she survived this long. Floyd and Becky awake on day 14 prepare to face the city. After fueling their bodies and Floyd has a smoke, they waste no time in hitting the road. While heading into Louisville, they improvise a new, better plan. Floyd, knowing his father, was a bit concerned about whether or not he would have kept himself and May in his home as shelter. With his lack of preparedness and supplies, there's a high possibility that he may have fled his home in search of something a bit more sturdy than his 1998 double-wide. The couple think for a moment on different places he may have sought refuge in. Becky remembers hearing something on the radio about the city offering shelter to residents in a few of the larger business buildings around the town. So that's their plan. Find these safe houses offered up by the city, and then continue on to Floyd's father's house. First, they discuss the idea of finding a more sturdy vehicle that has more horsepower and can withstand a hit or two a bit better than their Astro van. Satisfied with their new ride, Floyd and Becky make their way to the first safe house, the church. Making their way through the front doors, they are not greeted with a warm, fuzzy feeling of hope, but with one of heartache and desperation. The first main room is empty, with the exception of a few infected. They continue desperately searching each room one by one, inch by inch. With a little of their hope being left behind with each empty room, the couple makes the call to make their way to the next safe house, the school. On the road again, Floyd and Becky start considering the very real possibility that they may not ever see their May again. Floyd, hearing the panic in Becky's voice, reassures her that their May is a strong young girl. Hell, Becky, she's a hell of a lot smarter than we are, and look how far we've made it. I know my dad isn't the best person for this certain job, but we have to stay optimistic and pray for the best. Don't give up on her, you hear me? After taking care of the dead surrounding the entrance, they make their way inside the school's kitchen. Again, no sign of life. Now the couple frantically start searching every inch of the school. Unsure if there's another safe house in the city, the couple start making their way back to their truck, feeling that gnawing sensation in their guts, that feeling of something just not being right, the feeling mothers get when they know something bad has happened to their child. As midnight comes rolling in, Floyd and Becky reluctantly start their search for a shelter for the night. Being so close to May, they don't want to make the long trek back to Becky's aunt's house. They come upon a nice 2-story brick home tucked away into a cul-de-sac. Just as they start feeling secure in the temporary shelter, the neighboring house's alarm starts blaring. Not having the strength or patience to deal with more infected today, couple gets in the truck and heads a little further south, to another cul-de-sac near where Floyd's mother grew up. Once they secure the surrounding area, the couple makes their way inside. Worried and exhausted, they make their rounds to help themselves feel a bit more secure while sleeping. Floyd, feeling more exhausted than ever in his life, takes a moment to wash away the pain from today, as he says a quick prayer. Lord, today did not go how Becky and I had hoped. There was no signs of life at either of the safe houses. We're out of options at this point, and at our wits' end. I give all this weight to you, Lord. Please help us tomorrow. We're going to my father's house. It's our last shot of May being alive. Floyd and Becky awake on day 15, feeling a deep sense of hopelessness. Thinking if the school or church couldn't hold out against the rising numbers of the dead, how in the world would Floyd's father? The couple can feel themselves falling into a deep, dark hole of nothing but pain. Their final hope being that Floyd's father somehow managed to keep both himself and May alive. As they start to head out, Becky makes the request to stop at her mother's house on the way. She knows it's a long shot that her 71-year-old mother survived more than a day in this nightmare, but she's grasping at straws now. While on the road, Floyd prepares Becky for the very real fact that May can no longer be on this earth with us, at least not her soul. Becky, as much as I hate to admit this, I don't think things are looking good for May, much less your mother. I've tried to be optimistic, but we've had nothing but setback after setback. A normal 45-minute drive has taken us 2 weeks to accomplish. And with the condition of the school and church, I'm preparing myself mentally for the worst. I think you should too. The couple finally arrives to Becky's mother's home. Seeing the front door wide open and the dining room window busted out, Floyd already knows. He walks inside to a massacre. He searches the home, but deep down knows there's nothing here for them, except more pain for Becky. Sitting down on the bloody hardwood floor with her, Floyd tries to console her, even though it's not something he's been very strong at. I'm sorry, Becky. I was hopeful your mother pulled through somehow, but I think we both knew this is what we would walk into. I'll sit with you for a moment to grieve, but night is drawing in and we still have to get to May. On the road again, Floyd can tell Becky is a mess, tugging at her hair, leg twitching, and she hasn't spoke a word since leaving her mother's house. He decides to stop at the gas station on the way to his father's house to grab her some sort of treat to hopefully raise her spirits a little. As they kill the last few infected, Becky gets overwhelmed. Floyd tries to make it to her in time, but it's too late, screaming at himself as he kills the last few and then Becky. He starts to see red and slaughters every last one of the dead, feeling an anger growing inside of him like never before. Winded now, Floyd sits down next to Becky's body in disbelief and says, "What am I going to do now, Becky? I'm sorry for all the years of being so cold to you. I feel like we were just starting to love each other again, and now this dark world ripped you away from me. I pray May is still alive. She's the only thing I have left to live for now." Floyd takes off like a madman on the last stretch of road to his father's house, praying his little girl will be there waiting for him. As he gets out of his truck, Floyd's heart drops at the sight of his father's house. As he makes his way inside, he sees nothing that signals May is still here. Blood everywhere, windows shattered, no sign of my father, no sign of May, just her toy duck that she would never leave behind, just sitting here on the dusty bookshelf. Floyd sits by May's toy duck for a moment and has a quiet word with her. "May, I'm so sorry. Your mother and I failed you. I failed both of you. She's gone now too. She couldn't keep it together anymore after her mother's house. We tried to get to you in time, love. I swear we did. I'm sorry my father didn't keep you safe. We should have never left you with him. There's nothing left in this world for me now. I love you and your mom so much. I will see you both soon. Floyd, now on the brink of insanity, decides he no longer has anything to fight for. He goes outside to draw in as many of the dead as possible, wanting to take as many of them with him before he goes, saying to himself, "This is it. We tried our hardest, but in the end, it wasn't enough. Lord, forgive me for my wrongs. This world is the new hell. I just want to be with my family again."